Welcome back to My Trauma's Chronic, but I'm Iconic. I'm thrilled to have you here as we embark on a journey of inspiration, empowerment, and self-discovery. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Luke Neill. Luke's story is nothing short of extraordinary, as he navigated through various facets of life, from excelling in academics as a master in chemistry to pursuing a career in corporate and eventually transitioning into the fulfilling role of an ADHD coach. But what sets Luke apart is not just his impressive past, it's the courage he displayed in breaking away from societal norms, embracing his ADHD diagnosis, and charting a path that aligned with his true passions and purpose. Through his own journey of self-discovery and personal growth, Luke has emerged as a beacon of hope and empowerment for individuals navigating similar challenges. Get ready to be inspired, uplifted, and motivated as we unravel the story of Luke Neill's corporate dropout, ADHD coach, and champion of personal growth. So, get yourself a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's get started. Let's just start with your journey, right? So you've had quite a lot of experiences from, you've done chemistry to then playing American football.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start at like university level, or because we can go back to like school if you want?
Yeah, let's go back to school. Why not?
So I was diagnosed age 6. So well, we'll start with the story that I tell everyone. I was 6 weeks premature. Like my dad could hold me in the palm of his hand and I'd barely feel it. So I was tiny, like a tiny, tiny baby. And I was in an incubator to keep me alive with like tubes and ventilators and things like that. And I ripped them all out. And my mum was like, there's something different about this child. Like, he just won't be still. I was never still in the womb. And yeah, even though I was premature, I was ripping all of these things that were meant to keep me alive out. So my mum kind of like sensed that like I was a little bit different. I wasn't her first child. My brother's 2 years older than me. So she kind of had an instinct of what like a normal attention span was for that age. So like as soon as I turned 6, I was diagnosed, which at that time was the earliest you can get diagnosed as a child. I'm not sure what it is now. I think that's a good age. I think some people I see on like forums and they're like, "Oh, my son's like 3 or 4, and I'm sure he's got ADHD." And I'm like, "Whoa, there's a lot of like developments that's going on, and a lot of changes at 4. Like, who's got an attention span at the age of 4, let alone 6?"
Yeah, I feel like I got diagnosed quite much later in
Hmm.
life, but it's not as late as other people that I had on the podcast. There's a woman who's 53 that I got diagnosed with ADHD. I got
Hmm.
diagnosed with ADHD when I was 16,
Hmm.
and it was like, wow, this was so mind-blowing. Like, I
Yeah.
used to get so hyperactive. Like, I've had a tailbone injury because of how hyperactive I got. I fell off the table.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
was like in my room. I had like this, well, my family home. I had this single, like, a box room,
Hmm.
the table, I will be jumping on there, and that bookshelf is not stable. It's like one that you just put on top of your table.
Hmm.
Used to do crazy things. I'll try and climb on top of it. What? Couldn't stay still.
It must be an ADHD thing because I've only ever broken one bone, and it was falling off a table. So I was winding some girl up in music class, and like the way we had them lined up, there was like a line of tables end to end, and then it kind of hit a right angle in like an L. So I run across the straight lot, and then as I hit the L, obviously because the narrow end is facing me, the table kind of like starts to tip over. I'm like, fuck. So I jump off, and I fractured my wrist doing that.
God.
Obviously, not many people are running on tables in secondary school after um, winding someone up because they start to chase them. Um, but yeah, so that was most of my thing. Up until like GCSEs, I was fine. I was intelligent enough to kind of get away with things. I didn't notice that I was any different from other people, other than like I fidgeted a bit more, I swung my chair more, that kind of thing. Even like sixth form, when like things were really difficult and I wasn't doing so well in education, I didn't clock on
Hmm.
that it was my ADHD that was stopping me from studying. That was the reason why I couldn't focus on things. I knew I'm hyperactive and I get distracted and ooh squirrel. And like people who tell me to stop doing something, I'll stop and I'll do it again. That's fine. Teachers kind of understood, but really they didn't. They just thought you were being rude. But I
Yeah.
still didn't understand the whole like, oh, it's because I'm lacking dopamine and I'm not interested in this piece of work, which is why I can't do it. And I only really started to learn about it like when I finished university and like TikTok became a thing and there were people on Instagram. I was a late adopter of TikTok because I'm an adult and and I was too old to have it. So I'd obviously a month after everyone else had seen the reels, I saw them and then kind of started learning about RSD, like the whole dopamine system, and all like the executive functioning deficiency that we have with ADHD. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. That's why uni was so difficult. As soon as I lost all of the structure that came with school, everything got immensely harder. Like there
Mhm.
was not one written assignment that I had for my 4 years of my degree that I handed in on time. Even though they gave me extensions. And I was like, you probably should have said, it's due tomorrow and I'd have done it. Like there were so many times where I was like, oh, they'll give me like work in the lecture. I was like, oh, do it next week. And I was like, I'd either do it right then, as soon as I finish the lecture, go to the library, do it, or I wasn't doing it. And it still just didn't make sense to me. I was like, oh, why didn't I do that?
Mm.
But yeah, now it kind of like, oh, yeah, ADHD isn't just being hyperactive and boisterous and it's kind of just the top of the iceberg that irritates other people.
Yeah. Like, did you find like everything like to do with your ADHD was just seen as like bad behavior? Like, it's like put down into behaviorism, and it's like, no, this is like the way that I am, and this is something that I can't control.
Yeah, yeah, completely. I think it's a difficult one because it's not society's job to walk on eggshells around everyone else and their disabilities and their health conditions. And I agree with that because I don't have the consciousness all the time to think, oh, what if that person's walking slow in front of me has got a chronic illness? No, they're irritating me. They're walking slowly. No one's got time for that. And they don't have time to think about whether I've got ADHD and how it affects me. But also, people are happy to accept that, oh, you're hyper and your thing because, oh, yeah, that's the annoying bit of ADHD. I understand that because that affects them. But then when you tell them about RSD, the inability to do work unless it interests you, kind of diet things, emotional things, and how emotional things gets you burnout, and they're like, "Oh, you're just lying." Like everyone gets that, but they accept the bit that affects them. But as soon as it's
Yeah,
something that will only affect you and they can't understand,
don't care.
it's like, really, is ADHD really a thing, or is it just a trend? Um, but that's the same. Like I understand where they're coming from because if I was neurotypical and I could, whenever I sat down and I was like, oh, I need to do dishes, and I got up and did the dishes because I'm in control of my brain and my body. And someone told me that no matter what they could do, if they weren't interested in doing the dishes, no matter how much they shouted at themselves, they couldn't go and do it. I'd probably think they were lying too.
Mm.
If my brain for my entire life has just said, we're going to do this, and then my body went and did it, it wouldn't make sense for me for other brains to work differently. But I suppose that's why the term neurologically diverse comes from, because the
Yeah.
brains are different.
I feel like everybody focus on the hyperactive activity. I feel like that's the most common thing.
Hmm.
And what's really strange is I had hyperactivity. I can be really hyper,
Hmm.
like to the point where like it's it's crazy. Like for me to just come down, it's gonna take a while.
Hmm.
When I say a while, quite a few hours. But like my mental health was the reason I got diagnosed with ADHD because my
Hmm.
impulsivity was off the like through the roof. Like it was absolutely. If I wanted to get like, for example, trigger warning, if I wanted to go kill myself, I would just go
Mm.
and do it. Like if I
It's not
felt,
funny, but it's yeah, like
yeah,
wow.
that's what would happen. So if I wanted to kill myself, I would go do that.
Hmm.
Like if I wanted to self-harm, I would just go do that. If I
Hmm.
felt like touching the fire whilst it's hot,
Yeah, impulsive
I'll do
thoughts.
it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I had no control over it. And I
Yeah, I've not
forgot.
heard, like, I understand that. I've not heard many people like kind of like link their impulsivity to kind of like negative mental health, like in terms of action, but it makes complete sense. Like, I resonate most with the touching hot things. Like when I was a child, like I've burnt my hand, put my hand on an oven, and a piece of coal fell off the barbecue, and I just went and picked it up, and then I was
Yeah,
like I was maybe 6 or 8, and a piece of like charcoal fell off the barbecue. I was like, oh, it's black. It can't be hot still. It's not
yeah,
glowing white. And yeah. But yeah,
yeah,
like yeah, impulsivity affects everyone, and that's the first time I've heard of it. Of like, oh, not kind of. I've never had like suicidal ideation, so I can't resonate it or understand it because I understand what I would think. Oh, people are. It's something that builds up and like, oh, I'm gonna do it. Like, but then just like the impulsivity, as soon as one negative thought comes in, just like, well,
yeah.
go and do it. Is that kind of was it? So like it just you didn't
That was
have the
my
build
thought
up that you'd
process.
imagine with most people.
Like, sorry, come again? Because I was
What
trying.
like if you're in kind of the mental position where you're considering suicide, I'd imagine it's like a build-up of negative of emotions where it's like they'll talk themselves in and talk themselves out. Did you still have the build-up emotions, or was it kind of an instant, really negative emotion and then one thought about this self-harm and then you went and did it? Or was it more of a case of you'd already had the long build-up but the impulsivity was there was no kind of back and forth conversation of is this a good idea?
Yeah, none of that. Absolutely none
Mm.
of that. Like literally, like if I do have build-ups, but they will happen
Hmm.
within seconds, that
Oh,
build up.
really? Wow.
So
Hmm.
I would just be like, oh my God, I want to kill myself and I walk myself to the train station to go kill myself. Like, and
Wow.
that's all I'm focused on. And that's what I'm focused on. And I'm hyper fixated. And I walk through the roads. It was an intersection. It was like a four-way intersection. And I would walk, and it's like cars are coming. I didn't care. I was just focused on getting to the train station.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry that's happened to you. That must be like I can't even imagine. Like I'm fortunate I've never had that. Like the only thing I can relate is like I think life would be easy if I wasn't alive. I'm not suicidal. It's just
Yeah,
like life's really hard. And I was like, I kind of just can like there's so many expectations I have for myself. And I'm like, if I didn't have to try anymore, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. But like,
yeah,
there's no way that I'd never end my life because most of the time I really enjoy it, but there's still I have really high expectations. It's like if I was like a sportsman, well, I am a sportsman, but like I was like if I wasn't getting where I wanted to in sports, I'm like, oh, if I got injured, then I'd have an excuse not to keep trying so hard.
yeah,
And that's kind of like as close as I'd ever get to suicidal ideations. But like it's more of a case of oh, it's just a bit hard.
yeah. And you know what? I didn't know people had thought processes until I got diagnosed and got medicated instantly. Like within a few
Hmm.
weeks, I noticed, wait, why am I thinking about things? Like people think about things before they do things.
Mm.
I just do it. Like if I wanted to take
Yeah.
a drink out of somebody, like there's things where I have an impulse. It still does. And like let's just say there's somebody that I know that's next to me and they have a drink and I'm like, I'll just take it and drink it.
Mm.
I, I don't know why I do that, but like it just that and my body it will start stimming more and will start like getting really like distressed
Mm.
until I do it. I'm like that to an extent, but people think about things like what the fuck? Like I did not know that was a thing. I was like,
That's the
this is
thing. I
like,
think because I was diagnosed so early, I kind of wasn't aware of what I was before. Um, like it's probably a benefit because I've probably got a lot less traumatic experiences and ingrained coping mechanisms that are somewhat negative. Like I probably stim less than the average ADHD that got diagnosed late. But then again, it'd probably be good to have the coping mechanisms.
mm,
Um, but yeah, yeah, it's difficult because I kind of don't know what I was like before. I recently had last year, I went on holiday. I was like, do you know what? Like, I've been on medication for so long, and I just don't feel like it's working at the minute.
mm,
So I was like, okay, I'll go on holiday and just have some time off and see if it's more effective when I come back on. And I was so restless. I don't know whether that was withdrawals from it or because I just wasn't on it. But if I didn't go and exercise in the mornings, I just felt so restless, so overwhelmed. I couldn't sit by the pool. Like I even started doing like work for American football and watching film that I'd never normally do in my free time, let alone on holiday. And I was like, what's like my brain just couldn't stop. And yeah, I just felt like I had no idea what to do. And I was just like frozen. And I couldn't enjoy myself. But then I like went for a run, went for a sea dip, and I was like, ah, I can sit down and chill by the pool, have small talk with my family. And I was like, wow, like, okay, maybe the medication does work.
And I feel like when you're on medication, I feel like even when it's working, I feel like people with ADHD, like, and my autism, I would say as well, like, we have such high expectations of ourselves that it's
Mhm.
like, okay, we've achieved one thing, but it's okay, and you wanted it for so long, but you don't feel that effect of that. But you're like, I want this, 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 and you just want to keep climbing and climbing and climbing.
Yeah.
And there's times where I like work and I'm like, I'm doing this work and I'm not doing the work for long periods of time. I'm just staring at the laptop, pressing some keys, and I'm like, yeah, this is not stimulating my brain right now.
Mhm.
And I feel like I don't know about you, but like my brain needs to be constantly stimulated. I'm in A&E. If I'm in A&E in in the side room or whatever, I get automatically a side room. But like if that's my waiting room. And I would just be doing work. I'll be on my laptop. I'll be watching a
Mm.
film, doing some work, answering emails, and there'll be something on my phone to watch. I can't just not do anything.
Mm. How old are you, do you mind me asking?
I'm 18.
You're 18. Okay. So I
How
feel
old are
like
you?
I'm
Close.
26.
Oh,
And I
close.
feel like, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's a generational thing, but young, even like my cousins are, they live in Ireland and they're 18 and they're like, yeah, they're playing PlayStation while watching YouTube while on their phone. But they both do have ADHD.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so like I don't need multiple things, but like if I'm eating dinner, most of the time I've got something on. And if I want to be productive, I need like a podcast or something like that. But I'll make the mistake of putting a video podcast on, so I'll just sit and watch it rather than tidying my room. But like then there's people that like drive while they're on their phone. I'm like, stop. Like just listen to mute. Listening to music and driving is stimulating enough. I'm like, fair play, it's a skill if you can drive while you're and it's not like they're replying to a text, they're on Instagram flicking. And I'm like, you don't need this right now. You really
Hmm.
don't need that extra stimulation while you're driving.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like maybe the brain's like obviously now that kids are so used to having constant stimulation, irrespective of ADHD, like my nieces can't be left alone. They can't do nothing. And I know children need stimulation, but it's like while they're eating, they're on their iPads. If you want a minute of silence, they're on an iPad,
Hmm.
which is what it is. Like we don't have big family structures where you've got grandparents or extra large tribal families or close knit families where multiple generations are living in one house to look after the kids. So like someone's got to look after them, and both parents are working. So
I have a
yeah,
question. What's your heritage, if you don't mind asking?
I am Irish, Jamaican, and English. So I'm one quarter Jamaican on my mum's side, and then my dad is from Northern Ireland.
Hmm.
So that explains the curly hair and the slight tan.
Yeah.
But the curly hair could be from Ireland as well. So
Yeah, laser haircut. But it's really weird because like when I was at home before I was in care, like I was in a household where I never knew it was overcrowded until I read
mm,
like recent documents of police reports and like
mm,
social service documents. It was like my grandmother lived there, I
mm,
lived there, my brothers lived there, my mother and father lived, my biological parents lived there.
mm,
And then it's like across the like literally if you go out the door and you just cross the road, there is my uncle.
mm,
Next to it is my family friend. Next to them is my uncle. Literally three doors down from where we live is my auntie and her
mm,
family. But and we like before, like, I think
So your
June.
street parties must have been lit.
Yeah, there's a party every Saturday. I'm not
Mhm.
even, I wish I was exaggerating. There's a party every Saturday. Like, people get together. Oh my God. And it's great. The parties are great. Like, Asians
Apart from
know.
when you feel overstimulated because of your ADHD and autism.
You know what? Like, for when I went to, I would just isolate myself in my room. But when
Mhm.
I did, if I was there from the beginning, I
Yeah.
won't get as overstimulated. But I'm like, yeah, yeah, no. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Kind of makes sense? So, like, if no matter how big something gets, if you kind of warmed up to it and you're like within it, like your stimulation levels rise with it. Whereas if you walk into kind of a big scenario,
No,
you
like,
can't.
sorry, go ahead.
Is it like you can't because you're not, even though you're not in control of the people in the party, like you're in control of how much you're taking on because you've already started it.
Yeah, and people are not all coming in at one go. They're like few
Mhm.
people come at a time and it builds up. So it's like oh, I'm building up with it.
Mhm.
But like if like literally I would when I was going to family houses, if my parents, my brothers walked in before me, I will have to wait. I wait in the corridor until
Mhm.
like another group of people come so I can walk with them because it like
Mhm.
yeah, no. But like what medication do you take if you don't mind me asking?
The ones that are all out of stock. So right now, I am on Concerta and Ritalin, which are both methylphenidate products. Um, yeah, I don't really know a lot about medication. It's something I do want to look more into. Because I feel like when I was diagnosed, that stimulant, Ritalin, Adderall were like the two only ones around. I've never known anything else. But yeah, I'm definitely tempted to try others. Why? What are you on?
I'm on atomoxetine, so that's the last one I took. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
give me a break. Can I just go? I take atomoxetine, and it's like I take like 100 milligrams of it, like twice a
Mhm.
day, and it's like all day. Like Ritalin
Yeah.
is for a certain period of time, isn't it? Like 3 hours or.
So Ritalin, the slow release, is meant to be like the whole day. So if I take it in the morning, it'll till like three. So it's like a 8 hour kind of release, and then like you've got Ritalin, which is just short, just normal tablet, not in a capsule. Um,
So not like a really hard to tell, like this with like liquids inside.
it's oh no, it's a
Not
powder
liquid.
generally, but the capsules
Powder,
that they
yeah.
make have um nanopores within them. So it's a mechanical um metabolic like system rather than biological ones, because there's ones that kind of inhibit the digestion of it, whereas this just prevents all of the active ingredient leaking out quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
I
like there's
have
other ones that require certain biological processes to happen, or there's a limited amount of enzymes that can start to process it. So like your biology limits the digestion of the active ingredients.
yeah. So it's like I don't like it's like I used like how are you finding it? We were talking about this earlier. We mentioned it, we didn't talk about it, but about the ADHD medication shortage.
It's not been great, if I'm honest, but it's not been awful. Fortunately, I'm self-employed. I'm an ADHD coach, so like if I have a bad day or I haven't got medication, it's only me that's affected. Like I can't be fired, fortunately, but obviously it does affect my income because I'm not as productive. I'm not marketing as well. I'm not networking with people as well. But I've been able to find at least one of my two medications. So I've been on a lower dose for a while, and there's been like days where I've missed like one or two because I've had to go to the chemist and they couldn't order it, or I've had to get a different supplier, or I've had to go to the doctors and tell them to write me a different prescription, which has been a ball ache. And obviously, 9 times out of 10, as soon as you're told to do something that requires calling someone or filling in a form, you just forget about it.
You know what? There's this thing called like pharmacy. I can send you the link afterwards. Well, it's like
Mhm.
a direct pharmaceutical company where you can order your medication and they can deliver it to your door, and it will
Okay.
only take like 3 to 5 days, and then there's a guarantee that you will get your medication in those 3 to 5
Mhm.
days.
even with like the shortages.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. By all means, yeah. Is it free or do you have to pay for it?
it depends. Do you get your medication for free?
I think I do a prepayment prescription. So like it's like £10 a month. So it works out cheaper than paying up front.
Yeah, that's true. Like I like it's ridiculous how much medication costs.
How much it costs the NHS?
Like no, like the NHS will cost more, but like I'm talking about like just from a pharmacy. Like if you're paying that £9.65,
Hmm.
like all my medication costs £70 a month
What per item?
per item.
So it's £9 per item. So I think if you do a prepayment prescription, you just pay the flat rate.
Wow. I haven't got to the point where I pay for my medication,
Mhm.
but when I do, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, so that is difficult. But also when you consider it, I think I looked on the internet once, one bottle of Concerta is like £300. Yeah.
I'd be like, if I had to pay that prices, I'd be like, you know what, I'll live with my ADHD, but I'm probably not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're like you can go down the whole conspiracy theory route that that pharmaceutical companies are giving people autism and ADHD or they're keeping them there, but like they're definitely profiting off of health conditions, whether we
Yeah.
like it or not. Like same thing with vaccines, they're making huge profits. Um, but yeah, they're gonna because people keep paying it, and as long as there's government or insurances paying for it,
Mm.
because that's the thing. As long as someone's profiting from it, they can charge. In America, it works because companies will pay medical insurance for their staff, and
Yeah.
they can write that off as a tax. So they can still charge huge corporations vast
Mm.
amounts of money where they're making like tenfold profit on whatever they're selling. It probably costs pennies to make a jar of medication because when you think of it, so what? I have a pot of 30 that are 50 milligrams each.
Mm.
So that's like 1.5 grams of active ingredient.
Yeah.
Not even that.
There
Five,
was this
five times three is
person in
14.
America that said they were paying £2,000 for, not £2,000, $2,000 for 2 weeks worth of ADHD medication.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Especially if you don't have health insurance in America.
No,
You're
that's with
screwed.
insurance. That is crazy. And I was
No,
and I was like, oh my
that's
God.
strange. What's the point in insurance if you're paying for your medication?
Because I think like it was a few like they paid like 1,000 something pounds or not
Hmm.
pounds dollars off, and that's the rest that they could pay. It was
Hmm.
crazy.
That's mental. Yeah, like yeah, it's backwards. Like does make a lot of sense, but yeah, people. If there's profit to be made, someone will profit.
Yeah, definitely. So often people want you to like to convert. I feel like we've had, mm, often the world, expects people to conform to it.
Hmm.
And how does like embracing your ADHD, has that come with any consequences?
See, this is where the one where because I've been medicated for so long, I
Mm,
don't know if like my entire life I'm masking or if I just kind of get on with society. There are certain things where, yeah, I'm more quirky, I'm more loud, I fidget more, like my interests are more, and like I'm less emotional and more rational about a lot of things than others. But then I'm like, is everyone not just masking? Everyone's kind of like, oh, well, this is what society does, so we do this.
mm,
Does when everyone makes friends, they're not kind of like, oh, well, I'm either friends with this person because they have similar behaviors to me, or I'm going to kind of match it because I want to be friends with them. I don't know. It's one of those things you can read into the narrative a lot.
mm,
The whole masking thing. I'm not really aware of it. Like I see it as my ability that I can get on with anyone. If anyone, whoever I'm with, whether
mm,
they're working class, road men, if we want to say that, people that are common and will have like a regional dialect, or whether they're posh, middle class, speak the Queen's English and want to talk about politics. I don't know a lot about politics, but I can have a conversation with anyone because I have just got logical questions about anything. Is that masking? I don't know. You can tell me, someone can tell me if that is, then yeah, but I quite enjoy it. I like getting to know different people and having conversations with people that don't necessarily agree with me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, is friendship kind of not like a social contract where you kind of just both agree to be nice to each other and share enjoyment over something that you both kind of enjoy? I don't know. It's difficult. What would you define as masking?
Pretending to be, or like trying to push down who you are, like suppress the way that you are, usually,
Mm,
to
I
fit
don't think.
in social
Yeah,
societal norms and what society
um,
expects you to be like. That's my definition, at least.
yeah, I think that's a good definition. And how would you say that society pushes you down? Do you think you would normally be louder or more vibrant? I don't know. Maybe I'm conformist because I'm quite happy to like dress the way society looks because it makes me like I'm like, oh, look at dressing fashion. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
But obviously, fashion is well, it's dictated by well, big fashion, the big corporates, because they're the ones that put it in the shop and then people buy it.
Mm.
But when general population buy things, you see it around, then I'm like, oh, I actually like that, and I'll start wearing it. But then you find like a lot of more divergent people will have their own specific style of dress. They'll dress very colorfully and they'll do the dopamine dressing. And I think that's cool. But then that's kind of like, it's still like conforming to the anti-conformist. It's like, oh, well, I don't conform, so I'm just going to be like every other person that doesn't conform. So
Mm.
it swings and roundabouts, I think. But I think, yeah, there are definitely some where it's like, yeah, you're expected to not fidget. I'd say, yeah, the only say that I'm masking is like being expected to sit down and things like that. But I think just as equally,
Yeah.
if we cater to everyone, like you've got there, you've got a fidget toy.
Oh,
That's great for you
yeah.
and great for everyone else. But I've got ADHD. A fidget toy might distract me.
Yeah.
Like if someone else is fidgeting with a toy, it's perfectly well to stimulate them, but it distracts me. So who are we catering for here?
Oh, God, you make such a good point. Uh,
Like I think people we do need to cater for neurodivergence because it should be in the workplace, but the world is the way the world is because capitalism and because it works that way, and it's
yes.
catered to. It's one size fits all slash fits no one, and it's unless we change the world. But then if we all got our own way, we'd all work 1 hour a day and have as much money as we like. Um, I do think there are times where like expectations on people are bad in terms of like corporate where it's like, okay, we're going to pay you as little as possible for the biggest amount of work, which is fine because productivity is what makes profit. If you can do more work in less time, you're going to make the company more profit, and then they'll like you for that, and they might reward you for it after doing it for a long time.
Mm.
But also, I think having ingenious ideas, thinking out of the box, creativity, authenticity should be rewarded because I don't think when I was at work, I wasn't the most productive.
Mm.
When I did work, I worked fast, and I did things, but I couldn't work for 8 hours a day. And that did make me feel pretty crap. But I don't think the company should expect, because I've got ADHD, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I'm like, well, what's stopping everyone from saying they've got ADHD just so they don't have to work hard? I don't know. Because I was working hard, I was trying, and I wanted to do more work if I could, but I just couldn't focus on it because it wasn't that important to me.
Mm.
But
And was
then I
this when
made
you were in
90
corporate?
million. Pardon?
Or was this when you were in corporate?
Yes.
I feel, did corporate ever feel mundane to you?
Everything feels mundane after a while,
Um, yeah, that's true.
to a degree. Like some days recording educational videos about ADHD feels mundane.
Mm.
There might be a point in this, there might be 2 seconds within this podcast that will feel mundane, and then we'll switch the topic on something that's more interesting, and then it won't be mundane. Um, but yeah, for sure, corporate did. And there was times where I was like, what's the point? Like the one thing that irritates me most is work for the sake of work.
Mm.
And we used to have like audits that were all the time, and I just constantly missed them, or like meetings for the sake of it. And I was like, tell me what needs to be done now, and I will do it now. Whereas like, oh, this we could be doing this project, but only if you've got time. And I was like, well, I don't have time because I could be doing something else that's more enjoyable. But if I need to do it, tell me and I'll do it.
Mm.
But I know, just like, yeah, like if you've got time, like this is the main priority for the project. And I was like, well, that I can't do anything for that for a day or two.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll move on today. Yeah, but then I'm like, if I want to start something else, I want to finish it, or else I'll forget about it. It'll never get done. Um,
It's so conflicting because like it's
mhm.
my ADHD is very much at war with my autism.
Yeah, I sympathize with that because they're like completely different ends.
Yeah, like literally, I'll be like, let's just say we're meant to meet for coffee. I'll be like,
Mhm.
okay, we're meeting at 9 o'clock, so I need to leave the house by 8:30. I need to be and it'll be 6:15 or I have to wake up. And then I'm like, well, it only takes 12 minutes to get there. So I would get ready, and it gets 9:30, and I'm like, it only takes 12 minutes to get there. But autism is like, well, what if it's late? What if there's traffic? What if there's an accident? What is there? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
And then I'm like, and then I
Yeah, that
end
must
up
be
either
hard.
going really early or really, really like, for me, even a minute late is late, late.
Oh yeah, in theory it is, isn't it? What part of the brain does autism affect? So I know ADHD is the prefrontal cortex. Is that the same with autism?
Think so. Let me think this.
Because when you
Sorry.
say that, well, I'm thinking like, yeah, there must be certain mutations that are common within the ADHD, well, the part of the frontal cortex that causes the ADHD. But then there's also mutations that will cause autism.
Hmm.
So,
But yeah, it's a
like, do you get
chromosome
like
thing.
you get half of each, or do you get full ADHD and full autism? Because surely, like, there's only so many mutations that can have that will specifically cause one thing.
It's so from what I know, it affects your um prefrontal cortex.
Hmm.
No, your orbito, something O frontal cortex, your amygdala,
Hmm.
and a part called insula,
Okay.
and some sort of TPC. I forgot what TPC stands for, but
You've not had the hyper focus on my autism and
I feel
neurology yet.
I feel like I have more. I feel like with my autism, I feel like it's much more clear. I feel
Mhm.
like ADHD is harder to navigate because the guidelines are not clear.
Why do you think there's medication for ADHD but not autism?
I feel like personally, I think autism, there's not enough research about autism. There's not even, I don't, there's no support for autism in this country.
Mhm.
So I feel like
What changes would you like to see in this country? That do you mean like the educational system, in just like societal infrastructure?
no, I feel like education can wait. I feel like it's the mental health support
Okay.
because you can't like if you think about Maslow, right? If you think about Maslow, you can't do you can't fulfill other needs.
Hierarchies. Okay.
Yeah, before you fulfill your basic needs. And 60
Basic needs are food, shelter.
water, and then it's like psychological well-being, that sort of stuff. It's like the second one.
Mhm.
But how am I supposed to, fulfill my educational goals if I'm not mentally in the place to achieve them? Because
But do you think the
66
school system puts you in a place where you're not mentally there? Like, do you not think it's outside factors
autism,
that cause the mental health?
autism, like school definitely does play a part in, mental health. A lot of
Mhm,
people with autism do find it traumatizing. However, 66% of people with autism have thought about or have or and um acted on upon their suicidal thoughts.
mhm.
And I feel like this and I feel like the thing about support with
And when was
ADHD,
this study conducted? Because I assume, like ADHD, autism has been around forever.
yeah,
So, do you
years
think
ago,
that was the? Do you think that's the case, or do you think it's something with society now that's affecting autism more than previous that is making them?
I feel like, as like anything, time does, and the way that, things change does have an effect. However, I think for example, I've been to a psychiatric ward multiple times as an
Mhm,
inpatient, an inpatient unit as a patient, and I, if you don't find someone with autism and ADHD in the ward,
mhm,
if they don't have that, that's rare. You're the odd
mhm.
one out. And I feel like autism is like a lot of external factors have a play. But
Mhm.
like there's biological things which make you, more sensitive to the light, or things are too loud, or you're more sensitive when it comes to emotions or
Yeah.
feelings and stuff like that. However, it's external thing. I feel like ADHD can be external, but I feel like with autism is
Mhm.
more uncontrollable because it's external factors that are more of a play. That makes sense.
Mhm. For sure. Sure.
So maybe that's
I,
why.
mhm. I question it as also one, autistic people are productive. Like, not to create a conspiracy theory. Autistic people are generally pretty good at their job, but they'll burn out because they work too hard.
Yeah,
That's my stereotype. Please forgive me if I'm wrong.
true.
But so they make companies lots of money. People with ADHD don't. We need people with ADHD to start making companies more money. We'll give them stimulants that'll make them more productive, and we'll sell them to them. So we'll make money by selling them medication. Why would we support autistic people when they're really good at working hard?
I feel like a lot. It's so crazy because I can work really, really hard. But like for example, CBD courses?
Cognitive behavioral
No,
therapy.
CBD, like the certified something. Those courses,
Uh,
like,
CBD.
yeah, it's like
I just think of the medical part in marijuana, isn't it? That's CBD.
no, it's CP, like P for
CP. Oh,
like it's called continuing professional development courses.
okay, yeah,
You
yeah,
have to have certain roles.
yeah.
Um, and needs to be up to date. Those I can finish like 40 in like 20 to 50 I mean 20 to 30 minutes.
Hmm.
And they're like there's 10 courses within like 10 like segments, and within each segment there's 10 other
Hmm.
things. I can finish that in 20 minutes, 40 of them.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, once my attention is gone, once
Hmm.
I've overwhelmed and overstimulated, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I feel like immense sympathy for people that have both ADHD and autism.
Mm.
But I'm like, well, for it to be so prevalent like it is now, like autism is the most commonly diagnosed mental health slash learning disability or special educational need, followed by ADHD. I think ADHD is the most studied potentially,
Mm.
um, but autism's the most diagnosed.
Yeah.
Um, from a study that I saw a while ago, ADHD might have taken over. But for it to be so prevalent now, and numbers are increasing, even though without looking at the ability to diagnose things, there must have been a evolutionary benefit for autism and ADHD somewhere, because otherwise they wouldn't have survived and kept on producing. If you go back years ago, People said people with ADHD would have been impulsive and crossed that crocodile infested water and probably gotten eaten. So
Mm.
there's got to be something about ADHD and autism that made them favorable to survive.
With
Whereas
autism,
obviously now the way we've evolved,
yeah.
society's changed that things that are beneficial for the most of society are not for ADHD and autism. The way I look at it for ADHD, capitalism, and the whole buzzword around productivity, because before the Industrial Revolution, your ability to do a job was not based on how many times you can do it within an hour. There were
Mm.
artisans, there were blacksmiths, they kind of did things, and you waited however long it took them to do it.
Mm.
Obviously, now autism, it's a lot of sensory overload, brighter lights, more information, and more, I'd say less socializing, because if you think back then, it was more intimate, but still larger groups in intimate socializing. If you're talking about big families like you had, there were big family events, but it was maybe more frequent, but less intense.
Mm.
But it was still more in terms of like your family structure, your day-to-day structure. You'd have been talking to more people, interacting with more people, I
Yeah.
think.
I feel like uh, I feel like years ago they had to fill time, and now we're
Mhm.
struggling to find time.
Yes. But we
And I
also
thought,
feel like that we have to fill all of our time.
yeah,
But you
yeah.
think finding the time is what is that deficit for people with autism? Like, because you think they would have just needed more breaks.
For me, yeah, I think finding the time, I will filling the time is easy for me to do. Like every
Productively,
day.
though.
Sorry.
Filling it with things that you want to do. And I hate the word productively because like it kind of falls into everyone needs to be productive, but filling it with things that you want to do that benefit you rather than just stimming and consuming social media or television.
Yeah, that what, can I be honest with you? That sort of stuff doesn't stimulate me for that long.
Hmm.
Like but when I do work, it's great because there's so many different parts, so many things to do. Managing my team of people,
Hmm.
that is something that I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
Like because I get to like interact with different people. But when I don't have my time filled, I don't know what to do with myself. My
Hmm.
stimming is excessive. Like I would like stim more, I would tick more, I would yeah, and like literally on an average day, I have like 16 meetings
Hmm.
in a day. But today is my like the today is my least busy day. I had
Hmm.
3 podcasts to film, which were 2 hours long. I had 4 meetings already with people on my team. I'm great.
Wow. How many people are in your team? So what do you do for work?
Um, for my children's chronic, but my chronic or other parts of my work.
Feel free to let me know about all of them.
So with my children's chronic, but my chronic, I run the organization. There is psychological resources that are being developed. There is
Hmm.
a app that's is being developed. We're working on a digital magazine. I feel like I'm forgetting a few things. Digital magazine,
So is
social
it a
media.
non-profit aimed at supporting people, or
Yeah.
will this app be something that you're looking to market and profit from?
It's not a non-profit. The app, can I be honest with you? I feel like resources should not be expensive.
Hmm.
Like even like one of my psychological resources is that we're hoping to like sell. It takes a lot of time to produce, but I would never sell it for more than £12.50
Hmm.
because I feel like resources should be accessible to people.
Yeah,
Whilst
completely.
because you know it's something that is needed. It's not something that people like social stories is not something that people just buy just for the sake of it. It's something that they need to help them understand. So I have that part. And then so I manage that. So I manage 4 out of the 5 teams because the other one has a team manager.
How many
There's
people are in these teams?
altogether,
Hmm.
like 40 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you got like investor backing for all of this, I assume?
No. These people are willing to like
They're all
um
volunteers.
yeah, and they
That's
like volunteer.
amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And they believe in, my trauma's chronic, but I'm iconic. And that's what we need. Like these people see the passion. Like there's people that like one of our like we expect people to at least contribute like a minimum of like 8 hours a week.
Hmm.
If they can't meet the minimum, that's absolutely fine. We don't care. Like,
Hmm.
if you need time off, that's fine. But like there's people who have a minimum of 8 hours, but they choose to put 24 hours in a week, which we don't ask for.
Wow.
But
I
they
assume
just,
most of them have got employment elsewhere as well.
yeah, a paid employment as well. So it's like so crazy.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. These people are really passionate. Are most of your, I suppose, volunteers neurodivergent? All of them? Most of them?
There's, I think, 3 out of the 40.
That are neurodivergent?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who would
We
just
have
be
a,
giving their time away like that? That's surprising.
yeah, people believe in it because we don't just focus on neurodivergence, we focus on mental health. We
Hmm.
focus on looked after children, care experienced young people, mental health, physical health. So
Hmm.
what wide range of things. And
Okay.
then I do consultancy works for residential care homes, organizations. I do keynote speaking.
Hmm.
And then for the NHS, one out of the two main providers for Southwest London. For SLAM, I for South London and Maudsley, I do some experience work. I help produce training. I deliver training. I do
Hmm.
interviews for them.
Okay,
Um,
that's amazing.
yeah, and I do co-lecturing at
Hmm.
King's College University.
Oh, wow.
And
And
then
how did you get into all of this by the age of 18?
I'm passionate, and people like how enthusiastic I am, and I'm very honest.
Hmm.
And I feel like people just like how authentic I am. That's
Hmm.
what I realize.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
then
That's the thing. I wish I had so much more. I'm like, oh, sometimes I wish I had a little bit of autism because then I'd be more passionate about things and I'd stick to things for longer. But I'm like, it's probably swings and roundabouts because like you'd have such peak and then the dip will be like the
there's
amplitude will just be greater.
yeah, when you dip, you dip.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like um, and then I worked for the local authority.
How
Merciful.
many jobs do you have? Jesus.
You know what? This is
You
gonna
must
sound.
work like 16 hours a day. Like
I
you've
actually
got
worked
what?
16 hours, a minimum of 16 hours a day.
Jesus Christ. So you've
That
got
was
6 hours of podcasts to do today.
yeah, six
uh,
hours.
Along with how many other hours of developing your app and leading your teams. Wow,
Yeah, you're
that's
gonna
really
be.
smart. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. You're gonna think I'm crazy.
But you love it.
No, not that. I'm starting another role in June. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just like the ADHD. It's like, oh, new shiny. I'll do this. It's fine. I'll be able to do it all. It'll be fine. It's like when you're like, oh yeah, like the one thing that sticks in my head was I was planned a like nice time out in London with my girlfriend, and I was like, oh, London, it's London. You can get anywhere in like 15 minutes. There's the tube. No, London's huge and it's incredibly inefficient. So we were at Hyde Park doing some ice skating. We had to get to Portobello Road because there's like a vintage cinema there, and I was like, we've got an hour. We'll be fine. No, we were not fine. And it's like try and fit so much in to like this specific time. I wish I had the kind of enthusiasm to have all these jobs, but I think I just get overwhelmed.
Yeah. I've been to central London before, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I go to quieter parts of central London. But
Yeah.
if I'm there, it's like it takes a lot, but like I have to prepare myself for things.
Hmm.
So if I'm meeting someone tomorrow, I probably prepared for this for the last week or so, and
Hmm.
I have to mentally prepare. But I'm like, but when I'm in central London, because I've prepared so much, I'm just go, go, go. Even
Yeah.
I walk like I have somewhere to be.
Mhm.
Even when I don't have somewhere to be, I just want to be there,
Yeah.
like, like
I don't
across the
know.
road.
Yeah. Like my toxic trait is thinking that I could easily be like a director or CEO if I had like a person, an admin assistant that was like, do this, go there, do that, do that. I could probably work 16 hours a day. And I've got the great ideas where people tell me what needs to be done. I'm like, yeah, that's good. No, that's bad. But like, no one's going to hire me straight away to be a CEO. And I'm like, how do people get there? Because all of the being micromanaged and stuff is not good for me. But I've got the big ideas. I can kind of see projects and see where they'll go. Like
Yeah.
all the time, when I was working, I was constantly coming up with ideas and things like that would get us to places. And then management, oh no, there's this red tape, and I was this. And I was like, that's fine. If I knew about these red tape, I could like make up other ideas. Or like I'd be listening to stuff, and I was like, that's an instant waste of time for us. We shouldn't be going down that route.
What? Why
Like
don't you
it.
become the CEO of your own organization?
Well, I am. I'm self-employed now.
But like, why didn't you like hire a team or
I
like
haven't got any funds to hire a team.
say
And also like with ADHD coaching, I do plan on doing it, but it's going to be a case of once I build the business, not most people once they've had it. Have you had ADHD coaching yet?
no?
Well, you're already really productive, so like it, but it might help you slow down, which you might not want. But ADHD coaching
Sorry.
it's amazing. It's like having like a personal trainer, but for life
Mm,
admin. Kind of like the best analogy I've got is everyone can go to the gym, everyone can get there, everyone knows that you've got to lift weights, and then all of the machines have got pictures on it, and you can watch a video on it on how to use it.
yeah.
But personal trainers still exist. If you'd asked someone 20 years that and told them that, I'm a personal trainer, they're like, what's that? And he's like, oh well, I go into the gym, I count reps for people, not people can count, and I keep them accountable. And I charge £40 an hour for it. And they'd be like, that's a scam. But no, it's the accountability, it's that knowledge that people don't have that's not intrinsically understood. Little nuances about rep ranges or form, what part of the muscles or what part of your back you need to do so you don't get injured, keeping you accountable to your diet and your regime, reminding you why you're coming to the gym. This is why you're here. You want to make that change. This is the goal that you want to hit, rather than just turning up and be like, oh, there's already someone on that machine. I'm going to go home now. It's
Yeah.
kind of what ADHD coaching is. We're there. We've got that lived experience of having ADHD. We will work with you to create creative solutions that work with your brain. And we're there to keep you on, cheer you on, but also call you out on your bullshit if we need to. Because sometimes I need that. Because it's
Mm,
very easy, especially I think tough love is good for some ways because I think I need to be challenged. If someone says I can't do something, I won't do it. But if someone's like, oh Luke, you don't have to do it, it's fine.
I'm
Best
like, yeah,
believe I'm
that's
not
the
going to do it
green flag that
either.
I need.
Yeah, best believe I'm not going to do it either. So you need a bit of a firm hand as well. And I found it so useful because even though when you're self-employed, certain things aren't urgent. If you don't do it today, you can do it tomorrow or next week. Nothing's going to fall apart. You have people that rely on you right now, which is probably why you get it done, because otherwise they can't do their job. And you're probably very empathetic and very aware that, oh, well, one, they'll think I'm lazy. Two, if I don't do it, they can't do it. And then all this other stuff goes wrong. But if you're self-employed and you just rely on yourself, it's like, oh, I won't upload a video today. I don't feel great. But when I had a coach, even though it was pressure, I was like, oh no, I want my coach to feel like I'm doing good because I'm paying a lot of money for this and I don't want them to feel like they're not doing a good job, even though they are. No matter, like you could fall into the trick of thinking it's toxic because, like, oh, it's expected that I do good. If you have a bad day and you come to tell me, I was like, it's fine, we'll do it next week. It's not going to go right,
Mm,
but it also motivates you to get those tasks done that normally
mm.
you're just like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow.
I
Or
don't
I'll do it
have
next
the
week.
skills to be an ADHD coach, but I can call you every day, and be like, get your shit together.
Mm. That's the thing. Like, most people once they've had coaching, like, oh my God, I didn't realize I could get paid for this. And I was like, yeah, ADHD, the coaching part is the fun bit. Chasing people, chasing HRs. So one of my clients got their funding for Access to Work. I'm sure you're aware of Access to Work, right?
Yeah, I'm on it.
Perfect. I was going to say, if not, you need it.
Mm,
And he got his funding for it, and I was like, great. Well, I'll send you the invoice over and we'll get it processed. He was like, oh yeah, unfortunately, my manager's on holiday for 2 weeks. And I was like, it's fine. Let me know when she gets back. She gets back, gets rushed into hospital. I was like, what? I was like, we need to start working with you, and I need to be paid. She was rushed in hospital for an operation. She'd been recovering from operation. She comes back. He's like, oh, we've handed it to finance, and there's an issue with finance. And one, you're working with people with ADHD, so they're not good with communication anyway. And they've got to communicate with you and then communicate with people at their work that aren't in their department that are trying to fill an invoice in. And accounts don't like giving away money anyway. So you've got all of this back work, all of the whole admin thing. You've got to find your own clients, which isn't easy at all. And you've got to be consistent with it.
Mm.
And in order to be an ADHD coach, you've probably got to have ADHD in order to really understand it. Like I said earlier, you can have the best psychology degree ever.
Mm.
But if you don't have ADHD, you don't have the nuance. You don't understand what it feels like to sit and scroll on your phone for 4 hours, not drinking a thing when your water's 6 feet away. And you just can't convince yourself from your body to move and just to get that water. You don't have that understanding. So yeah, you kind of do have to have ADHD, and then having ADHD and being consistent without instant gratification or any accountability in a self-employed role is really hard. So the kind of, oh yeah, 30% of ADHD people are entrepreneurs, yeah, but there's no statistic for how many of them are successful.
Mm.
But yeah, it's both. It's
Yeah.
hard, it's great, but it's super rewarding as well. It's great knowing that you're helping people making a change to their life.
I feel like with, ADHD, like even like getting things to people, my autism will get it done. My ADHD be like, should I extend the deadline?
Mm.
So I have a longer period, but I feel like I feel like with ADHD and autism, it comes with lots and lots of guilt. Like if
Yeah,
I meet,
shame. Shame is the biggest thing. Like I could
yeah,
deal with most of it if I told someone I was like, oh, I've done nothing today. And they're like, that's fine. We can do it tomorrow. Or oh, sit down, we'll do it now. But then the instance went, oh, why didn't you? Like, and they're just being genuine. They're like, oh, why didn't you get it done? I don't know. I just sat there and I couldn't move. Like, oh, come on, you just try a little harder. Set an alarm, write it down, write a to-do list. And I'm like, do you not think I've tried? I've got lists like I'm sure you've got it. You've got a book for a new notebook or a new diary for every time you try to start a new thing because I'm going to be consistent.
yes,
And because I'm going to do it, I'm going to only have this specific diary, and this specific diary will only be for my trauma is iconic. My trauma is chronic, but I am iconic. And then you'll be
4
like,
pages
oh.
in and I forgot about it.
And then the one day you don't have it, you need to write a note in another book. You've just undone all of your organization because there's a note that needs to be in this notepad and it's in another notepad. And I'm not going to write it out again in this notepad that it should have been in. So I'm just going to throw them both away.
I have a library, literally. If I was in debt of thousands of pounds and I need to sell my like empty notebooks or whatever, I'll be a millionaire. Like I will be like
Mm-hmm.
a multi-millionaire, and I'll be like, this is my retirement plan. Goodbye. Like
There's their vintage at this point because you've had them for so long.
no, even if it's like what I don't like is it frustrates me when it's dated. I just have like lined because I'm like, who are you to tell me that in this little space that's the only amount of work I can do? You're
Yeah, that's
limiting.
why this is undated.
Yeah.
Because
And
if I miss a week of doing work, I can't just miss a week of the book. I need to write in the next page.
yeah, and it makes me feel shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who are
Mhm.
you, a voiceless thing, to make me feel that way?
Yeah. Most of the time, no one's even putting the shame on us. It's us. And I
Mm,
think that's the societal pressure.
mm,
Um, I think ultimately we've gone to the point where you've got so much information. You can see everything, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and then you're there in the middle living your insignificant life. And you're like, well, you feel guilty because you see so many people that are worse off than you, yet
mm,
you're not happy. And then you're not happy because you see so many people doing all the stuff that you want to do,
Mm,
even though it's just the 1%, and half of them are just lying about it on Instagram. But
mm,
you can't, even though no matter how many times you tell your brain that, your brain's still like, oh, that looks fun. Why aren't we doing that? Why am I sat here in the UK with a vitamin D deficiency and cloudy skies when there are people out on boats getting cocktails and eating barbecued meats right now? And then
mm.
I'm like, oh yeah, but I've got four walls around me. I don't have to be scared for my life. I've got running clean water. Whereas before, you lived in a village, you'd hoping that Doris died so you could get a job in the post office for the next 50 years. You weren't wondering, oh damn, I'm only going to get paid 60 grand in London. It's yes, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm looking forward to when we start to go backwards, like in terms of advancement and like it's just, yeah, there's just so much to compare yourself to now and so much information and expectation that everyone puts on themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard. Like, objectively, physically, this is the easiest life has ever been.
Mm,
But emotionally, expectation wise, because obviously everyone wants better for the next generation. Like, our parents want us to do more, you want your children to do more, but the means aren't there because as society goes on, and as amazing as capitalism is, because it means we can get things from China that are cheap, and then someone spends it. Because if not, bread would be £30 because it was an artisanal bread, and that bread, that baker needs to earn 70 grand a year to live. No one's eating bread, so we need this big capitalist machine.
I
I
feel like
forgot
we
what my
need to
point
go
was.
back in
Yeah,
society.
we need people need to be able to find joy, happiness, fulfillment in the little things. But also, there's people with so much money they don't know what to do with it.
Mm,
But that's the way it works. It needs to be like that. And I don't see when it's going to change,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Like, you know what, like, upsets me though, it's the way that society is. I feel like for me, I'm like, keep the advancements, keep the whatever. But the way that
Mhm.
society was, like, I don't know, 30 years ago, with the principles of today, you know, like, like even relationships, I'm like, somebody's coming to see you, like, go out for a meal, da 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 da. Instead
Mhm.
of like, hey, you okay? A message, and I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, because everyone's life's so hard now, and they're like, oh, I've not got time to be social like this. Like, it's it's a crying shame when people are like, I don't have time to see my friends, or like, oh, I need to be grinding. I shouldn't be having fun with my friends. I'm like, people should be able to be both. Like, you shouldn't have to work 60-hour weeks in order to enjoy a holiday, to go and see your friends.
mm,
But then I compare myself, and I'm like, I'm sure there's people in Mumbai in a slum that have fun every night. They laugh with their friends, they're chilling out, they're having a little mango lassi. They're not having huge portions, they're not having McDonald's. They've missed out on the latest Netflix thing, but they're damn sight happier because they've got people around them that they care about. And they've
mm.
got a job which can just about fulfill them, and they're not comparing themselves to anyone else. Like, the best thing I've ever heard is comparison is a thief of joy. And it's true. There's never a truer word spoken.
Until you don't have anything, I feel like you can't appreciate the simple. I don't. It's like I feel like hmm, I feel like I enjoy the simplicities of life, like just the trees, the whatever.
Yeah.
But then other people are like, oh, it's just a tree. It's just a thing. But I like for me, it feels like being transported into another world, which nobody
Mhm.
else can feel like. And then there's times where I'm like, when yeah, I feel like especially when, yeah, I don't know.
I understand. I'm so conflicted because there's times where, like, me and my friends went camping for like the first time the other week, and we had the best night. All we did was barbecued some food, sat in a field, and just
You
laughed.
really like the
And
barbecues, don't you?
Yeah. All about it. That's my people pleasing like thing. I'm a people like that's how I show love and affection to my friends. I cook for them. Um, and it means I'm in control. I was always a fussy eater, and I was like, if I cook, I know I'm going to eat.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's like my toxic trait as well, because I'm like, oh, I'm really bad at organizing things, but I end up organizing them because then I know that
What
it
is
kind of will work for me. So I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that's a bit toxic. Maybe it is. I
I
think I'm
do
just
that as
generous.
well. Like,
Mm.
oh, like, but I have the opposite thing. Is if I prepare my people like my cooking, I will cook for other people, but I don't have the motivation to cook for myself. I don't have the
Oh yeah,
motivation.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not kidding
Yeah, what
myself.
is for other people? Have it. For me,
I
I
bought a
can't
box
do
of
my own food.
40 Indomie noodles yesterday on Amazon. A 40 pack of Indomie because like for lunch, it's chicken strips and noodles, 15 minutes and done. I
Yeah,
can eat that and I know I'm gonna eat it. It's fine. It's got like 45 grams of protein, 800 calories. I'll be sorted. And it doesn't take me long to wash up. It's like whack it in the air fryer. I don't need to wash up. I'm gonna put the thing in the dishwasher. Sound. Like I'm not doing big meals. But that's the
yeah.
thing. Like I think me and so many other ADHD people, because there's the expectation that we need to be productive, or there's all of these other admin jobs that we need to do, we don't let ourselves have fun.
Mm,
Like, I'm like, oh, I haven't got time to cook a nice meal. I don't deserve it. I should have been doing this. Or I haven't got time to play PlayStation. I've spent 4 hours wasting my time scrolling and I've got to clean my room. I've got to fill out a tax return and I need to clean my car. And I'm like, well, you should have spent those 4 hours that you were scrolling on doing something that you actually enjoyed. But it's that constant, like that, it's like that bedtime revenge procrastination. We don't,
mm,
because we aren't productive, the demon word of society now. We're like, we don't deserve happiness. We don't deserve to do fun things. And then you don't do either. You don't do the things you need to do because you feel so much shame that you've not been beneficial to your life for
mm.
those 4 hours that you wasted, that you just continue wasting them because you're like, well, I want to do something fun. I don't want to do those things because they're boring and I haven't had any fun yet. So you'll just pick the middle ground, which is procrastinating.
Yeah.
Whereas you're probably better off stopping procrastinating and doing the thing you want to do because at least you're going to get some joy out of that. You're like, there's times where I've spent that long on my phone that my eyes literally like I know old people say your eyes are going to go square, but I literally feel like the shape of my eyes have changed because like they just feel like they're swollen and like they ache. It's ridiculous. Like the one thing, if my message was for people, is to find what's important to you.
Mm,
If it is career, that's fine. If not, find something that brings you joy, that will is brings you so much joy that you don't mind putting up with that 9 to 5 career.
mm.
Like my issue with London, I love it. There's so much to do,
Do
but
you live
no
in
one
London?
has a. No, I live in Northampton, so I'm about an hour away. But a lot of my friends do, and it's I could it could be because I don't earn as much money as them, but I'm like, they all they do is work, and then they go out and they drink and they spend the money, and then they go back to work. And all people talk about, if you like, if people ask you, oh, they meet, hi, how are you? My name's Luke. I'm Ross Miller. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a marketer. I work in investment banking. No one's saying, oh, I really like dogs and I go for long walks and I hike and these are my passions. It's your job. And I think so few people are anything more than their job. Like none of my friends in London have hobbies outside of drinking and
Mm.
socializing. And it's like, oh yeah, I got a job. And like, I think LinkedIn's like the worst place for it. It's like, oh yeah, you post something good or like, oh, I saw a puppy today or I volunteered, but you get a promotion, you earn more money. You've earned like you've gone up in life points, you've leveled up, which is true. I wish I had more money, but I think there's also more important things like life shouldn't be so expensive to the point where you have to have money to have fun.
Mm.
But yeah, also wouldn't say no to a fucking job that paid me 70 grand a year. So
Wow. Even if it's at corporate.
I don't know. It's one of them things that if I got into it, I'd probably be able to convince myself that, oh yeah, it's fine. But it's not like I know people that earn over £100,000 a year, and I went on more holidays than them when I was earning 28. In my head, I was like, oh, well, they just have more expensive holidays, whereas I have more and probably better ones, and they work more. But then he might look at me and be like, oh, he's got no money. He's always worrying. Because there is times where you're worrying about money.
Mm.
Um, I think a lot of people's mental health and stress is caused by worrying about life and worrying about what's going to go wrong. Um, because I'd imagine people that are financially secure have a lot less anxiety and depression. Even though there's plenty of millionaires that are depressed, yes, but that's probably because all they do is work and they can't trust people because they don't know what their intentions are. But I'd imagine a lot of people that are working class and middle class, their mental health would be far better if they didn't have to worry about where the next meal is going to come, or how am I going to afford this car that will make me look cool, or this outfit that will make me look cool, or oh, how do I go on this holiday to make me happy? It's
Can I be
it's a
honest?
tough one.
I've gone beyond the point where I don't care about what any
Mm,
like I do feel I do care about what people think. I don't care about
mm,
it, but I do feel the pressure of what other people are
mm,
thinking.
yeah,
But I don't care. Like if I want to say my stem, if I want to be a certain way, I just be a certain way. If I want to dress a certain way, I dress a certain way. You know,
mm,
like gone beyond the point of caring but what anybody else thinks, but I still feel the pressures of it.
yeah,
It just feels like, but I feel like as humans, we're never satisfied. I
no,
feel like it can, I feel like this might be a strange example, but like in the caveman time, if you just got like I don't know, something small to eat and you have like 10 cavemen or whatever
yeah,
to feed, you're gonna be like, this is great, we got food, we're not gonna die, but it's not enough to feed 10 of us properly.
yeah. It is. It is. Probably spend far too much time thinking about it, but then again, we wouldn't trade it. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to be in a world where food isn't secure. You
Mm,
can't. So that's the thing. You're in the constant battle where you're like, oh, times would have been simpler, and I wouldn't have been shamed for being lazy because when I'm hungry, I would get up and move, and
mm,
I'd probably be all right. And people wouldn't be like, "Oh, Luke's not productive." They'd be like, "Oh, Luke didn't get many berries today, but he got 100 berries last week, so it's fine." So
but then it's like, but those, like for me, like, with the berry example, like even if I got 100 berries this time, but the berries are not going to last till this week,
mm,
they're probably moldy.
yeah. But then in that scenario, like everyone's getting berries, no one's sharing the berries.
Mm,
Then whereas the thing, everyone's out for themselves now because they have to be. People can't afford to be generous. Like you don't know your neighbors now, whereas before, like your neighbors would lend you a tool or a bowl or an ingredient. Like, whereas now everyone has to have that screwdriver or everyone has to have all of these gadgets. Like, my ideal would be like if I had my own house and all my friends, we'd all have a subscription each. Rather than we've all got Amazon, we've all got Netflix. And then we're like, oh, if we
with
want to watch an
Netflix's new
Amazon thing,
thing.
don't even get me started. But then we'd all go around the one person's house that's got Sky Sports when the football's on, and we'd all go around the one person's house that's got Amazon Prime. We want to watch that new Amazon Prime thing. So it's socializing. But now it's like, everyone's very much private in their own houses, and everyone buys one of everything for themselves. Um, there's a lot less community now, benefits
Yeah.
which benefits capitalism. But I'm not against capitalism. It's just, am I? I don't know. I don't know if there is a solution to it that seems logical because even like communism or socialism is really just elite capitalism because yes, everyone in Russia and China is poor apart from the top 1%.
Mm,
Everyone in America and the UK is poor apart from the top 1%. But at least in a capitalist society, you have the opportunity to be the top 1%. Um, but yeah, it's the only way that we'll fix it is if you probably don't know much about American football, but unlike normal football, it's a fixed league. So you don't get relegated if you finish last. So in America, in order to get into professional sports, stick with it. This analogy might work. In order to get into professional sports, you need to go to college. And when you go to college, you get drafted by a team. Depending on where you finish as a team, there's 32 teams. The person who wins the league that year gets the 32nd pick. So they get the last pick. So if you do really well, you get to pick the last bunch of players. So you're going to get the worst players. And if you finish last, you get the first. So it kind of creates equality, whereas the people who are winning don't keep winning and they keep winning and get better players and get the better players. If you win, you go down and you get the worst player that year. It could be similar for companies. If you make a certain amount of profit, you're going to get taxed a lot more that year. And then people are like, well, I don't want to just go to the government. We'll start paying our employees more or we'll develop more. And then companies that are struggling will get taxed less and they'll be investing in their company and then they'll be able to grow more and pay their companies more. Whereas now it's, if you've got money, you own your home, you've got enough money to buy another home and another home. And then you charge people that can't afford to buy a home so much money that they can't save money to buy a home. And it's a vicious cycle. There's no way to get out of it. And the people with power and money gain more and more power and money.
Yeah, and they don't care either.
No, because the same with them, like people that own houses, well, petrol's more expensive now, furniture's more expensive now. So like, well, I earned 70 grand, well, 100 grand last year. I'm not going to earn 90 this year. I'll put in my prices because food gets more expensive, bread gets more expensive, milk gets more expensive, life and energy bills get more expensive. And the person who owns things and sells things isn't going to take that hit. So who does? Society. So and I don't know the solution to that, unfortunately. I'm just incredibly aware of it, which is why it frustrates me so much. I feel like you can't get ahead.
And it feels like it's, like Squid Game. I haven't watched it. I get like,
Neither have I. I think that might be why I don't know if it's just an autistic trait or like the whole demand avoidance, but it's usually only with TV shows. Like if someone tells me to watch something, I'm like, I think
yeah.
I'm very much non-conformist, and I'm like, well, if I do that, I'm just watching it because you've told me to watch it, not because I want to. So yeah, I've not watched Squid Games, I've not watched Game of Thrones.
Oh no,
But when it finished, I was like to my girlfriend, I was like, oh, maybe we can start Game of Thrones now. She was like, well, it's over now. What's the point? No one's talking about it. And I was like, exactly. That's the point.
it's like there was this like some Bridgerton like offspin whatever. It was everywhere.
Mhm.
It was everywhere. And I'm like, no, I'm not watching it. Like it's
Mhm.
if you're so in my face, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna subscribe to this thing. I'm not gonna play this. I'm just like, leave me alone. And like it happens with like for example I don't know if you relate to this, but like it's like washing like if like one day like I'm feel like, okay, I'm gonna wash the dishes today. And I do it, and then somebody's like, oh, can you wash the dishes? I would literally stop what I'm doing.
Mm.
Like I was doing it. You just told me again.
Yeah.
Um
The demands of avoidance is strong. I don't know what the scientific reason behind it is, because we're also people pleasers.
mm, we have hyper empathy as well.
Yeah. That's the weird one. Um, yeah, it don't make sense. It does not make sense.
Yeah.
Um, but like I think the one thing that like I
It's a
am
rigid
glad that has been
thinking.
scientific.
Sorry.
Pardon?
It's a rigid thinking, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm only rigid when someone challenges it. If I think about it myself, I'm quite loosely held with things. Like if someone said capitalism's bad, I'd instantly have an argument to say, oh no, it's quite, there's reasons why it's good.
Mm,
Whereas if I'm discussing myself, I see both sides, but generally I play devil's advocate. But that's
yeah.
because arguing gives me dopamine.
Mm,
Like that's one of the biggest thing I realized, and I was like, damn, like are all of my personality traits because like they're all stimulating behaviors.
mm,
So mate, that's like that could be falling into the whole masking thing where like everything I'm doing is just to cure my ADHD.
yeah. I do things just like for reaction. Like
Mm.
sometimes say something or do something, and I'll be like, and if a person doesn't react, I'm like, I will literally. It's like,
Keep pressing the button, poking the
yeah,
bear.
I'm like, I'll find it. I'll find an error. I'm like,
Hmm.
until something else occupies my
Yeah,
thoughts.
it is.
Crazy.
So I think one of the most I went to was it Andy James? So I went to a seed talk about ADHD, and
Mm.
he went into a bit more of the neurology. And I actually, obviously, I know I'm late a lot and I have a poor perception of time, but there is actually a scientific reason why. So I'm not sure if it's the amygdala or the hippocampus. One of the two, for neurotypical people, it produces an electronic signal
Did you mean
frequently.
atypical?
Neurotypical.
Oh, for as in like people without
Yeah,
neurodiverse.
for the average person.
Oh, right. Okay.
Um,
Sorry. I didn't.
the amygdala will emit a frequency at regular, repeatable times. I don't know what it is. So we can imagine, say, every second it sends out a frequency
Mm.
that allows normal people to recognize time. Whereas people with ADHD, now I don't know if it's limited to ADHD, the signal that's sent out is not regular. So it doesn't happen every second or every 5 seconds. It's an irregular frequency, so that we aren't able to perceive time. So that's largely why one, we're late, two, we hyper focus and think and time passes by like that. And three, it's why when we're bored, it seems like the world is moving in slow motion.
Mm. I feel I feel like there's times where I'm like, oh, there's like 40 minutes, like 2 hours for something. I look
Mm.
back and it's like the 2 hours is gone. It's like,
Yeah. I have no idea how long things take.
mm,
It just like cooking. I've cooked some things for so long now but I'm like it's done when it's done. I don't know how long that time period feels like.
mm,
Like there's times where I've like, oh, I've got an hour.
what am I
Sometimes
doing?
an hour feels like a very long time. Sometimes an hour feels like a very short period of time.
Mm,
Like we've been speaking for an hour and a half now. It it really doesn't feel like that.
no, it really doesn't. I'm just like, it feels like I'm just catching up with someone.
Mm, it does. Which is what is dangerous when like you get two people on a podcast because we've not answered any written questions and we've just rambled on about
But
absolute waffle.
I feel like even if, yeah, we did walk for quite a bit, but like, I feel like it all comes back to neurodivergence, really, isn't it?
Well, it will make sense to me, and I'd imagine a lot of your listeners are maybe,
Yeah,
well, obviously, yeah, neurodivergent. So I'm able to follow most conversations like that, and it makes
yeah,
sense in my head. So,
yeah.
but
I feel
hopefully,
like if it
hopefully,
doesn't, they can just keep scrolling.
yeah. If not, comment below where you lost track, and I'll I'll do the whole, the word association game.
Yeah,
I'll do the word association game of how my brain thinks we probably got from this point to that point, and it
yeah.
all makes sense. Probably, maybe.
Mm. Do you want to play a word association game?
We can try.
Well, let me get like a random word generator and see. Oh my God, I'm getting so excited. Oh my God. This might be the height of
This
my level.
this could go anywhere.
Okay. Do you want to start off after the word generates?
Yeah, yeah. If you generate the word, I'll start with whatever pops into my head.
Surface.
Surface,
Yeah.
molecule,
Frustration.
Traffic.
Waiting.
Elevator.
American.
NFL.
Taylor Swift.
Travis Kelce, her boyfriend, plays in the NFL. Oh yeah, that's how you got there. Crap. I was thinking you was linking America to Taylor Swift, but you actually linked it to the NFL, so you've got that down.
Mm.
Um, just music, really, isn't she? She's pretty iconic now. But see, look, we started off with surface, and that's literally how like the ADHD brain works. Like so many times, like the worst thing is like there are times where yes, I'm not thinking about it. People will look at me like, oh, what are you thinking about?
Nothing.
Sometimes it's nothing, but a lot of the time it's very obscure things that you don't need to know. Like my girlfriend will be like, oh, what are you thinking about? And I know in her head it's, oh, he's thinking about other women or thinking about this, or he's bored. And I'm like, for one, I don't know how I got to where I got to and
Mm.
these thoughts, but they're nothing like that. Like one day, I was thinking, I was like, why do things come in packs of 4 and 6? Because there's 5 days in a week,
Yeah.
or 5 days in a working week and 7 days in a working week. And if I'm going to do something, have something for lunch every day, I'm not just going to not have it on Friday. I'm going to have it 5 days a week. And like beers, they're sold in packs of 6 and packs of 4. I'm not going to have one beer a day. Why aren't they sold in packs that make sense for living?
Mm.
Like beans are sold in packs of 4. Bacon is sold in packs of 8. There's 7 days in a week. If I have one slice of bacon, there's just a random one extra on the last day.
Yeah.
I
And
think
if you're
things
having
have
one
been.
piece of bacon, I would be really questioning
Yeah,
you.
I know that, but if you're having a fry up, one bacon, one sausage, one egg, some beans, but like, okay, even if you're having 2 slices of bacon, you buy 2 packs. Now
Mm.
you've got 16 slices of bacon for 14 days or 7 days. No, 16 for 16 for 7 days. Yeah, now you've still got another 2 random slices at the end of the week.
Yeah. And I feel like they just want, I guess it's capitalism. I'm gonna think about it. Yeah. Like they just want
Maybe.
you to spend money. Like buy
Like
two.
fours for cans, it makes sense because they stack well. Because they make a square. If you've got 4 cans, it makes a square, it stacks well. But I'm like, screw stacking well. You're selling them to the consumer, so it's suitable for them, not so it's suitable for the school, the shop. But yeah, but those are the random thoughts that come into my head when I'm sat there and people are like, what's going on? He must be like, he must be really upset, or like, is something okay? It's random stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be thinking about a thought and it will make me really, really, really angry. And I'm just looking at someone like with such anger. And they're just
Uh,
being nice and talking to me. And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're like, yeah. And
you
then
live
my
in
face
South
goes back to
London, is that
normal.
it? You're just walking around like looking pissed off all the time, like mean
I
mugging people.
I've been told I have a resting bitch face. Like I just and the thing is, right, I get like I understand people. Like
Hmm.
sometimes I'm just like what? Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Like I feel like neurotypical people don't find us atypical people like they don't find any sense in us. We don't find any sense in them. I just look at them and I'm like, really? I don't understand. Why would you say that? Like,
hmm.
and the thing is, my face is very, very readable. Unless I
Hmm.
want to lie and I want to, and it's not obvious lie. If it's an obvious lie, you can see it in my face. But if it's,
Yeah.
I just hope that one day that I don't murder someone because the way that my phone history is, I'm surprised I don't have MI5 knocking on my door. The rabbit holes that I go through,
What? I'm not sure if I want to ask what kind of rabbit holes would make you a top suspect for murder, if I'm honest.
it probably wouldn't be murder. It'd probably be like serial murder or Royce
Oh,
murder.
so you like a good serial killer documentary? Is that you've got a bit of a
No, no, literally, I would be like, okay, let's just say cyanide, right? I'll be like, where do you
Hmm.
buy cyanide? What? How do you make cyanide?
Oh,
And you
okay.
do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I would be like, okay. And then he would say, let's just say there's like something about molecules and I didn't understand it. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what is molecules? How do I make this happen? How do I make sure
Yeah.
it works
Innocent,
out?
innocent questions
You know what this
to
like
taboo things.
I wouldn't say something. I was like,
Do it. It's your
the way
podcast.
that my brain works, I feel like my brain is clever. I may not be that clever, but my brain, like the way that my brain works is
Hmm.
it's
Curious.
it's you know how things like, there's iPads in wards if you don't like have like laptop. I mean, if you don't have like what's it called? Like you can just use the iPads, there's like two, three iPads per ward. And when you're thinking of ways to I probably wouldn't include this in the podcast, but ways that you want to kill yourself. But all those are blocked, right? And it's
Okay.
automatically blocked because it will come up with a helpline. So what I
Hmm.
do is I go and research papers on how people have killed themselves and get ideas from there. It's crazy. That
I'd
sort of stuff.
agree. I'd agree. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not like, yeah, I'm not saying.
Well, I'd imagine so, because there's probably a reason that you're on the psych ward.
Yeah,
There's probably a good reason that if you're on the psych ward, they're blocking things. But yeah, hats
yeah,
off
but
to your
like it was.
ingenuity to finding a way around it.
Yeah, but like if you write anything that indicates harm to someone or yourself, there will be a helpline that comes on, whether there's
Mm.
restrictions or not.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm like, fuck you, scroll.
Mm.
It's so crazy. I feel like the way that our brains work is so clever.
Yes, there's meant to be apparently there's more connections within the ADHD brain which makes it more active, but they're not ordered like
Mm,
a person. So obviously between all the different neurons within your brain, there's more connections which leads to like more activity and we're able to jump from one section of the brain that is problem solving to one that's like solution based, things like that, which is why they say people look at the start of the problem and jump straight to the end and see the solution, but obviously skip all of the other bits. We've sometimes considered them, but we can see the outcome. Whereas most people look step one, step two, step three, step four, and go like that because of how ordered the connections are in the brain. They might all be bullshit, but it's just stuff that you see. But
that's so
there is,
cool.
yeah, the connections between the ADHD brain are definitely less organized than the neurotypical brain because there's a theory called the thought action gap, I believe it was, which is partly why people with ADHD can't act on their just basic desires and what they want to do. Where
Mm.
did I write it? Was it networking? Nope.
You know what I think you'll be great at? Like TED Talks. I feel like you'll make them so interesting. You're very
I'm looking at
philosophical.
doing one potentially, but yeah, hopefully one day people will pay me lots of money for it.
Do you get paid to go on there? Because
If you do an actual TED talk,
yeah,
maybe, but if you do a TED talk, people are going to pay you to come to their companies. TEDx's, you can just apply for them, which kind of took some of the fantasy away from it. And I was like, oh, so any Tom, Dick, or Harry can do it. It's just whether they're any good that anyone will watch it. And then my RSD kicked in. I was like, well, what if I work really hard to do this TED talk and I'm just one of those other people that get 5 views? And I was like, well, there's no point anymore. But yeah.
yeah, that's so relatable.
I've
There's
got some
this one.
facts. It was a great thing. ADHD has been diagnosed and observed since the 1700s, apparently.
Ooh, has it?
Yes.
Interesting.
But definitely wasn't called ADHD. But there's a very interesting book or audio book that is called Driven to Distraction, which I've listened to. I'm in the process of listening to it.
There's this
Um,
woman. Sorry, there's this woman that does TED Talk discovery things.
mhm.
I was looking into it and got an email from them. Dr. Elena,
Okay.
I'll send you this thing.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So great. We've been everywhere
We have
and
indeed.
anywhere.
I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. Is
Yeah,
there any
this
questions that are burning that we had organised that you'd like to ask? We'll try and be organised for the last 10 minutes. But I'd probably just say stop putting so much on your plate. 3 podcasts in a day is a lot. That's a lot of talking and
that is
listening and
a
being
lot.
interested.
Yeah. I don't do this often, but the thing is, I have a bank, right, full of podcasts set to
Mhm,
release. Once it gets low, my anxiety gets up because I'm like, I'd rather have like three there that I don't have to
mhm.
worry about 3 weeks. But I have podcasts booked all the way till November.
I know that's when you sent me initially. I was like, I'll have completely forgotten about this by November.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'll make one. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I've got until next week to do another one. One released last night and I've forgotten to promote it. But yeah, I haven't recorded anymore either. So yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
complete opposite to you. You're very organized.
I'm organized, but I'm like also very hectic. Like I'm very not I can be organized and I'm very disorganized at the same time. Anything to do with me, like like voting, right? Yesterday I went to vote.
Mhm.
My passport? Yeah. I should keep the stuff in the same place, but I just put it like I've lost like £300 before.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
the
be
thing.
like,
It's like, oh, I'll put it here. I'll remember I'll put it here. No, you won't. I'll put it here. I'll put it here because it's safe and I know I'll remember to look here. You're not going to remember to look there.
like our podcast, I don't know if you've watched any, but like it's very like the editing is very minimal.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't edit mine. I could not think of anything worse than going back and listening to my own voice for 2 hours.
I know that's why I don't do it. I'm like, fuck that shit. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
no.
Anything to do with the podcast, once I recorded it, it's not my problem anymore.
Hmm.
Like when
I
people,
think that's why most people get editors, if I'm
yeah,
honest. Like, and then the successful ones just go. But yeah,
I feel
like
like,
my podcast is largely for me as well. I like just talking to interesting people, learning things. Um, like if it flops, I'm not bothered. I don't care if it gets views, because I enjoy them. I've listened to podcasts for a long time and I've always found them useful. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, if I could just ask people like more deep questions. Most of them are like acquaintances, friends that I've like not had the time to like because we play American football together or like we work together or something like that. And it's like we've never had the kind of environment to actually have a deep conversation.
mm,
Like even some of my best friends from university, like on one of the podcasts, I found out that he had a brother that passed away when he was young, and I had no idea. And I probably would have never come up in conversation because of how infrequently we see each other and things like that.
mm.
So yeah, it's been really good. But yeah,
I
thank you
just,
for inviting me.
it's okay. It's a pleasure. Can I be honest with you? I was looking forward to this podcast. I don't know. I just had a good feeling about it. I'm really glad I went through with it. Thank you
But
so
yeah,
much.
I'm glad. I'm really glad that I've done it. Yeah, I was the opposite. I was like, oh, it's gonna be bad. I don't know this person. She doesn't know me. But no, yeah, you've turned it around. I think it's best. Obviously, the whole don't judge is shone through because I've really enjoyed this and I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. What are you going to do with the rest of your day?
I am going to edit, no, probably record a few more videos. I've just gotten a little ring light, so hopefully the content is going to start getting better. Um, that's all I've got planned for today. Tomorrow I've got to service my car,
Mm.
and then I'm going out for a meal. It would have been my nan's 90th birthday today, if she was still alive. So we're celebrating that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but my mum wants to. So
So to keep your mother happy.
yeah, for sure. Like I'm like, well, like fair enough. Like it'd be like in my head, I'm like, okay, well, when people die, we kind of either we mourn or celebrate the day that they passed because that's the last time we saw them. But I suppose
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense to celebrate the day of their birth still. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. I just find
Good
it,
it's
I
good
don't know.
excuse to spend time with some family.
Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, I would just be like, yeah. It's I feel like, it comes back to what you were saying, is people don't ask important questions or have like deep conversations
Hmm.
until like, you're thinking about someone passing away, or until like, they're on a deathbed, and it's really like,
Yeah, sure. Have you got a podcast where you like, what episode have you done? Because I'm really interested in your story now. Like, as you mentioned, care, biological parents, things like that. Obviously,
so
you must
what
have a lot of trauma. So I think that'd be a juicy episode to listen to if you've got one that goes into your life, or if you've been on other podcasts.
I've been on other podcasts, but I've never spoken that much about my life. People know the
Hmm.
basics.
Hmm.
But if you ever want to talk about that, let me know.
Perfect. Well, maybe I'll have to get you on mine and you can dump all of your trauma and I'll be the host.
Oh yeah, I'm up for it. Why not?
Perfect. I'll send you an email and we can do it because I think obviously what you're doing with my trauma is iconic. Trauma is chronic, but I'm iconic. That's such a mouth. I always get it wrong.
It
Is
is.
great. The whole app thing and the fact that you're managing so many roles is something that I'd like to dig into because the view around my podcast is it's not massively structured. Not everyone's neurodiverse. Not everyone's got ADHD. It's usually just people that have got some kind of tip. They've done something pretty good in their life. The last three have been professional athletes because they're just my friends from American football, but they're usually doing something else on the side. Um, or they've got some kind of neurodiversity. But yeah, it'd be interesting to have you on. So I'll try and get around to it. I'll add you to the list. I've got a list of like podcast guests that I need to email.
How long does it take you to like film and prepare for it? Because like this is what like for my podcast, I like, have you had guests? Like do you know your guests before you've had them?
Most so far, I've known all of them bar one. Um, and he was. Do you follow much like ADHD TikTok or Instagram? Like, do you
Yeah.
follow them? Have you seen the founder, the kid, the Asian, the Chinese guy that's from New Zealand slash Australia? This guy, Eugene Yao.
Yeah, him, yeah. He
So I
comes up.
had him on my podcast when he had 50K subscribers. So he started off just like making them. We were like, oh, we started making videos together, and he was getting some success. He did a trick where it's like, oh, for every follower I get, I'll count a grain of rice. So like he got himself to like 5K doing that and making ADHD videos. And since then he's blown up. So he's got 680,000 followers now. And I think I had him on the podcast in I want to say January. When was this? Let's have a look. No, maybe it might have been November, but 6 months he's gained 600,000 followers.
That's amazing. I
It
feel
is.
like that's what I'm neglecting most, my social media,
Yeah, but it's also crushing when I'm like, well, I started the same time and I just deleted loads of my followers.
because they're like, why if you
Well,
don't
most
believe?
of them are like friends, so there are people that followed me, and I was like, well, most of them aren't interested in ADHD. And like the way Instagram works, it sends your post to 10% of your followers to begin with.
Yeah.
If that 10% of your followers interact with it, like it, comment, watch all of it, it will send it to more of your followers and more non-followers.
Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of my followers were just there because they were my friends and they weren't interested in ADHD content. So, fortunately,
What's
you
your
can now
Instagram?
make people, yes. So a lot of my stuff just wasn't going anywhere. Where
Hmm.
there's, yeah, but you also need to be consistent and like post every day, which is
Yeah, I'm
tough.
like, I can't, like, I just can't be bothered. I don't even think my autism can be bothered, even if I was
No,
interested.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna like take a big break and get a big pile of it up,
Hmm.
and then worry about posting for 30 days. Because I think once you've kind of got like 10K, then you can. Then it's like, oh, well, 2,000 people, 1,000 people are going to see it to start off with, and they should all be like ADHD people that
Hmm.
want to see it. So I think if you're consistent for a short period of time, you can usually gain like a couple thousand followers if you're consistent for a month.
Yeah.
Um,
If you,
but yeah,
what's your Instagram? Sorry.
it is that ADHD guy. But there's a full stop between every letter of ADHD. But hopefully, if you search that ADHD, I should come up.
Did somebody take it without the?
I think
Oh
so.
my God. Yeah, I do follow you. Wait, did I? Okay. Yeah. I've seen your stuff. Wait, how did I get in contact with you? Through.
LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Okay.
I have posted a few to LinkedIn though.
No, no, I don't scroll on it.
Oh, no, I don't.
I just see
If you,
whatever the.
yeah,
I've
no,
seen
there
your
should.
stuff, definitely. Oh my God, your hair gets curly.
Yeah, it's really out of control. I haven't cut it since like December. But yeah, that's where we're going soon because I need to build up my client base.
Yeah, just
What kind of do you get a VA through Access to Work?
VA, VA.
Virtual assistant.
No, because I don't have it for this. I have it for the local authority. I don't have it for this set of work.
You can apply for it for every single one of your jobs.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like I need someone to do it with me when because it was hectic.
Hmm. Well,
How
I
much
would
do you
recommend the.
charge?
How much do I charge?
Yeah.
Through Access to Work, it's £1,500 for 12 sessions, which is lower middle of the road.
No, I'm just talking
Like,
about just helping with the access to work form.
oh, for I don't generally charge.
Oh,
Like most people, it's assumed that they're going to coach with me. So I'm like the 20 minutes or 40 minutes that I body double with them on an Access to Work call versus the £1,500 they give me, even though it's in 5 months' time. It's kind of fine. At the minute, I've got time on my hands. Like it's a gesture of goodwill. Later on, if people want it and I'm busy, then yeah, I probably will start charging. But like
would you be able to help me with that? And
for
I'll pay
sure,
you your time.
yeah, you can do for sure. My recommendation is you just fill it in, and then when like you just say how your disability affects you, and
Mm.
then there's like, oh, what support do you need? And you just say, I don't know, and then they call you, and then you don't actually have to do the effort. They just call you, you answer the phone, and then speak. Um, And then if that's not enough, they ask you what you want. I've got like lists of all the things that I got and
Mm.
like price breakdowns because they sometimes ask you that as well.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, happily. If you pick a day when you'd like to do it, um,
What would you like me to do that over with you? Like, do you want to do it now on email or WhatsApp or
or as in book an appointment,
yeah.
you've got my Instagram and my LinkedIn. You can book an intro call on there. Alternatively, you can just message me on LinkedIn and say on this day, or we could just work it out. When do you want to do it? Do you want to do it within the next week or so?
That'd be great. But I will have to be able to pay you on the 23rd. How long will it take?
It depends. I don't think it's that long. You've done it before. It's usually name, address, yours. I assume you've got a tax reference number for your company.
I don't. But even if I don't, because I have other jobs except
Well,
for
then
this.
you can
This
do it for your other jobs. That's fine.
yeah.
But if you're self-employed, obviously for your own business or things like that, you can decide what you buy. So,
Mm,
like when I got Access to Work, they because I'm a company on my own, I don't have to make any contribution.
mm,
So I was given like the list of all the things: monitor, sound cancelling headphones, ergonomic desk, ergonomic keyboard, ergonomic mouse, ergonomic chair. This chair that I'm on cost £1,300. The desk that I got cost £1,050. The maximum you can get for the chair. I don't know whether because I've got a bad back, they gave me more for the chair, but the desk you can spend £1,050. Monitor's 170, which is quite low, I think. But I shopped around and found a really good one, 27-inch Dell with USB-C. I got this fantastic keyboard that is clicky and clacky and like RGB. That was £175 because it's metal,
mm,
solid. It's really fun. You can program it to do whatever you like. Like you can program it to write out passages of text if you say it, and then be like, oh, Alt F4 is your email or your website, things like that.
Well, that's
Um,
great.
yeah. And like sound cancelling headphones, you get £190 to spend. I bought some Bose ones. And then you also get like Dragon software, Glean,
Mm.
Claro Read that they'll fund for your personal laptop.
So do you need like a
Um,
tax reference for that?
Pardon?
Do you need like a tax reference for that?
You need a unique, if you're self-employed, you need a unique tax reference number, yes, because that kind of proves that to HMRC that you are self-employed rather than just saying, oh yeah, I'm a builder. And then you get 3 grand's worth of stuff when you actually work a 9 to 5 and you just want to get out of your home office.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it'll take like a couple of weeks, but obviously
Yeah.
you can set up as a sole trader with HMRC or just go through your other jobs.
Mm.
Um, but then they will decide what stuff you get other
Yeah.
than like your coaching, which you can kind of choose. Because 90% of the time, if they have more than 50 employees, they're expected to make a contribution or
Yeah.
they're expected to pay the first £1,000 of things. And then Access will cover the rest of it. So like if your work pay for it, they're probably not going to buy you a chair for £2,000.
Yeah.
They'll find an ergonomic chair and buy the cheapest. Um,
Mm.
but Access to Work generally fully fund coaching and support workers because it's creating another job
Yeah.
as far as they're concerned, and it's keeping someone employed. So um, they generally fully fund it irrespective of the size of the company. Because I've got local councils that my clients work for, and they fund it fully for them.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that should be fine. For the new one, you will probably wait 5 to 6 months. But if your needs change for your current role, you can also reapply, no, extend like
Mm.
for a current application. So right now I need to kind of get an extension because I want more coaching. Apparently that doesn't take 5 months. Apparently they're like, well, you've already done the whole process. We'll just extend it and give you more support that you need.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's a route that you could also look into.
Yeah. I'll do some research as well before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, you know what? My next podcast cancelled, so I have a few hours to myself. Oh,
Pardon?
I have a few hours to
What?
myself. My next podcast cancelled.
Oh, I don't know if you've got some time.
Yeah.
I'd imagine you need some time to get, even though this is super stimulating, you probably need some time to relax.
Yeah, definitely.
I also forgot it's a bank holiday now because I'm self-employed, so bank holidays aren't like fun. It's like a day that everyone else is having fun. It's Monday's a bank holiday. It's May Day.
Is today Monday? Sorry,
No,
no.
today's Friday, but Monday is a bank holiday.
Wow. Have a good day.
And you, Rosmi, it's been a pleasure to meet you, and I had a lot of fun. And I will see you next Friday the 10th at 3 p.m.
I'll see you then. It's nice
Perfect.
to
Have a
meet
lovely
you.
weekend.
Bye.
Cheers. Goodbye.
As we draw to a close on today's episode of My Trauma's Chronic, but I'm iconic, it's clear that embracing neurodiversity isn't just about creating a more inclusive workspace, it's about unlocking the full potential of every individual within our organisation. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey towards a more inclusive future. Remember to comment, like, and share so we reach a wider audience, which allows us to continue doing our work. Stay iconic until next time.